We may also be asked to find a value on the distribution for a given probability, which is the reverse of what we did in the previous session. So how would we do that? It could be given in this example, very like this case here, we have find a value A such that 10% of the population we're looking at from this normal distribution are below the value A. So how would we go about doing that? First of all, let's try to check we know exactly what our essentially our calculator is our tables here, so we need to understand what we're trying to do to make sure we have some answers that are sensible from our calculator. And it's telling us that 10% of the values, so that bit there is going to be 10%, are below the value A. Of course, the first thing is, why am I choosing it at that end? Well, of course, we know that the mean is 100, and of course this is negative infinity this way, so clearly if it's to be 10% of the values, it's got to be on the left-hand end. And we know that our variance is equal to 225, and we know that our standard deviation is therefore 15. Okay, let's have a go on the calculator. Let's go back to menu, use the arrows to get to stat. I press execute, press F5, which takes me into the distributions, press F1, which is the normal. Now then we need to press inverse n. Previously we pressed F2. Now we're going to press inverse n, which is looking the inverse operation. That's already set up for us in this case. It's telling us, right, it's the area in the left-hand end. Well, of course we've already decided that because we need to understand what we're doing before we ask the calculator just to give us an answer. What else do we need to know? Well, we need to tell it the area in that end. Well, we know that that is 10% of the values. But the area is given as a probability, so we need to put in that it is 0.1, not 10%. We then press execute. We need the standard deviation, and that's 15, 1.5, and we need the mean, which is 100. So I've got that in as well. And we press execute again. We get our answer. So our value of A is equal to, and that would be to three significant figures, 80.8. Okay, that was example A. Example B, very similar. What would we do there? A quick sketch very often is the best way to go in the exam. We will not waste too much time doing this. 15% of the values from that are above B. So we're looking at a small amount of it, but the values, a very small amount is above B. It's clearly looking at this end this time. So we're looking for this area to be 15%, and the question's asking us to find out the value B such that that is true. Nothing else has changed in this case, so all these values are the same. Back to our calculator. Press exit, go back up here. This time, of course, you can see we're going to press F2. It's the right-hand end we're interested in. The area is 0.15. Remember, it's 15%. So that's 0.15, 0.15. And of course, the standard deviation and the area, and the, sorry, I beg your pardon, the standard deviation and the mean are all still the same. So this is going to be, the answer we get for B will be 115.5 or 116 to 3 sig figs. Good. Okay, the last example. C, fairly obvious one now. We're going to look at the middle. The middle 40%. Now, the middle 40% indicates that it will be the central bit balanced around the mean. So in other words, you're going to have 20% below, 20% above. So you're looking at this section here, and that's the area which apparently, if that's 40%, the question requires you to find out what the values would be at the boundary of this area. So our first thing is we're going to get a value, and of course it's always good practice to think this through. You know you're going to get a value below 100 and a value above 100, and you know that you expect that. Remember, the calculator isn't doing the thinking for you, so make sure you don't put something in that's wrong. The x value will be below 100, the y value will be above it. Sigma is still 15, So let's go back, exit. Clearly we're looking at the center, so we press F3. The area has changed, of course. What was 40% will be put in as 0.4, and of course the other values haven't changed. So press execute and we get our answers. X is the lower bit, which we expect to be under 100, and it is indeed 92.1, and Y is equal to 108. And that finishes the section on inverse normal probabilities.